For the past couple of months, Overwatch 2's main topic of discussion on their developer posts has been its matchmaking. Aaron Keller, the lead director for Overwatch 2, has made another developer's post discussing the matchmaking, its current state, and what we can expect to see in the next coming weeks. My name is Halzeey, and if you enjoy this type of content, please consider subscribing. Enjoy. 2 weeks ago, we talked about balance and matchmaking in our blog update. Matchmaking has continued to be a big topic in the community, and it's something we focused on internally. One note before we begin, I think we're at risk of sounding like a broken record with our communication on matchmaking. To be honest, I completely agree with this. Blizzard, they haven't been the best with communicating with us, and by just saying we're working on it and it's getting better isn't really the best message for the community. Now, Blizzard is aware of this, and they know that players are still experiencing bad matches, but they've decided to actually share some data with us to help us understand the current state of matchmaking and the impact of some of the recent changes. Over the past week, we have made changes to the system that have brought down the skill gap between players in a match significantly for high and low MMR matches. If you look at the ranked skill difference chart below, you can see two spikes that negatively impacted match quality in Season 3. And with these recent changes, we've started to bring this back down. On screen now is the three charts that Blizzard has provided, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at the higher ranked players. So these two spikes that you see in the graph between February 9th and February 14th, and then around February 20th to March 1st were the two spikes that were negatively impacting the matchmaking. Now, Blizzard has to play a balance. They want to have short queue times, but they also want to have good game quality. Their game is just fundamentally flawed with how the matchmaking works, meaning that they'll never find a perfect balance. Looking at the high MMR group, so this is going to be Grandmaster players and above on this chart, roughly half of our matches have an MMR range of about 4 to 5 divisions, while 25% are at a difference of 5 to 6, and the worst 1% are roughly 10 divisions apart. To give you a perspective on that, that means Grandmaster 1 players can be playing with Diamond 1 players. That's ridiculous. They also stated that grouping behavior drives a large part of this gap, but to me it just seems like an excuse. To me, I thought Season 3 was supposed to bring fixes to the matchmaking system and not just make it worse than it was before. Aaron Keller then goes on to explain how the matchmaker actually works. So when our matchmaker tries to make a match, it looks for players as close to each other's MMR as possible. As it continues to search, it will expand to players with larger differences in skill. Prior to Season 3, we had the ability to control the rate of expansion independently for each queue. In Season 3, we changed how our matchmaker expands over time, but removed some of our control over per queue behavior. This meant that if we wanted to reduce the size of skill differences in competitive, we had to do the same thing in unranked and arcade. If we wanted to get shorter queue times for unranked by expanding the skill difference requirements, we could do that, but then competitive would have a wider skill difference too. Now, just saying this boggles my mind. How can you possibly be a billion-dollar company and have your matchmaker like this? Why are my unranked games going to be the same level as my ranked games? It doesn't make any sense. Why would there not be a system in place where you can change each queue separately? Why would they revert that change? It doesn't make any sense. In the patch on Tuesday, we implemented the first series of systemic changes. More are coming in Season 4 that give us back the flexibility to tune these modes separately and gives us new ways to tune the system. Competitive can once again have its own set of parameters for how wide the skill gap can be, which will be separate from the other modes. This week we will be tuning these values to tighten the skill gap in competitive as much as possible, while keeping an eye on queue times for that mode. Now, one thing I would like to see Blizzard do is give us an idea on where they want the queue times to be. In higher ranked lobbies, I don't think people mind the queue times as much. I think I'm not the only one when I say this. I would rather have a better game quality than just a 2 to 3 minute shorter queue time. Because inevitably, if I'm playing a game with lower quality, I'm going to be wasting 20 minutes anyways. Maybe for lower ranked players, it would make sense to have a slightly higher skill gap difference so that they do get fast queue times, because that is where more casual players lie. But it still comes to the fact that people, when they play competitive, they want to actually have a competitive experience and not just lose the game in the matchmaker system. Additionally, in the mid-season patch, we added the capability to sort parties together that have a similarly player delta. We're now able to get similar parties together in a way that minimizes role delta, which has resulted in significantly lower party queue times. it also concentrates wide parties together, which has made a dent in our player MMR delta. So from this statement, I understand that Blizzard is trying to find a happy medium for when people queue together, kinda averaging out the MMR that you're playing against. Hopefully that provides some much needed context for all of you and helps you to see the amount of work going into the system. However, your experiences are what really matters. Stop the cap. We'll be collecting a lot of data this week and listening to all of you as well. I'll be providing some short updates soon. Conclusively, I've always taken a stand on matchmaking that it should be the #1 priority in any competitive game. Maybe when PvE releases, it'll be a different story, but for now, when multiplayer is all that Overwatch has, it has to be their main focus of priority. I think I speak for almost all of the community when I say that people would much rather have a better game quality and equal skill level, especially in competitive modes, rather than just waiting 1 to 2 less minutes for a queue time. Right? People don't want to be wasting 20 minutes for a queue when the game's just going to be automatically lost before you even start playing the game due to the massive skill difference. It just doesn't make sense. The logic isn't there from Blizzard. Furthermore, I would just like to understand how releasing a patch in Season 3 just made the matchmaking worse for all of us. With them releasing this information, it makes sense now why I was getting gold and low platinum players in my Masters games. It makes sense now. I think another reason we have to give Blizzard some slack though is there is 3 roles in the game they have to balance in terms of the matchmaker. It's not as simple as a game such as Valorant where you load in, there's 5 people, and then you pick your role before the game even starts. Since Overwatch is a game that's about switching characters and you're not locked into one character all game, this is another fundamental flaw with the game on why it's so hard to balance. If Overwatch had a Valorant approach where you just be locked into one character the entire game, it wouldn't really make it feel like Overwatch. Yes, it would be way easier to balance the game. People would just pick their roles in like some sort of agent select, champion select kind of screen. But other than that, it's almost impossible to get perfect balance in this game. On top of this too, Overwatch has to keep into account the queue times because casual players, they don't want to be sitting there waiting for 5 to 6 minutes just to get a balanced game. I think no matter what, we're always going to have unbalance in Overwatch. It's just how the game is fundamentally designed. So I think the best way to go about it is honestly just continue to playing the game, stop complaining about the matchmaking, and just know for the fact that some games are going to be extremely unbalanced, some games are going to be balanced, but the fact of the matter is Overwatch will never be in a balanced state. There's just way too many variables that go into this game, such as the balance, right? 3 roles that they have to do for all their matchmaking, 3 separate ranks, queue times, matchmaking queue times, who we're playing against, who we're playing with on our team. There's just so many different variables that they have to take into account. Anyways, I want to hear what you guys think down below of these changes. Do you think Blizzard is making the right decisions? Do you think matchmaking is ever going to be fixed? If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.